You're not here by chance. Something within led you to this video at this moment, and by the end, you'll begin to understand why. True healing isn't always a sudden flash of light. Often, it feels like a whisper amidst chaos, a quiet murmur from within, signaling change and cohesion. Healing starts when you stop rejecting parts of your story you wish to erase and begin to integrate all you've been through, everything you've denied or silenced. Carl Jung said, transformation comes not by illuminating the shadow, but by becoming conscious of the darkness. In this silent, often invisible process, the true integration of the soul begins. Even if you're not fully aware, there are subtle yet powerful signs of healing from deep within. One sign is when you stop fighting yourself, not by forcing peace, but as a quiet softness settles in. It's an understanding that lets you observe without judgment, feel without demanding constant improvement, and live without needing to fix yourself. Your inner dialogue shifts. You stop punishing yourself for feeling and no longer pressure yourself to be perfect to earn rest. Instead, you speak honestly and with compassion, which isn't weakness, but a gentle strength dismantling inner walls that kept you from your true self. This softness doesn't arrive all at once, but grows with each decision in your favor, each moment you refrain from self-punishment for not having all the answers, for not healing quickly, or for unexpected reactions. You come to see true strength isn't in being invulnerable, but in feeling everything and moving forward, even with open wounds. The endless internal war quiets, not because everything's resolved, but because you're no longer fighting who you are. You accept that you can feel anger without losing yourself, fear, and still move forward, fail without being a failure. This acceptance isn't resignation, it's clarity. It's realizing every emotion, wound, and denied piece of yourself is a crucial part of your soul's map. When you let it all coexist, giving each part space, something sacred happens. A quiet unification begins to form between who you were, who you are, and who you are becoming. The demands you once imposed on yourself begin to lose their hold. Internal judgment fades, replaced by a more grounded presence, one that is authentic, solid, and human. You're no longer striving to become someone new. You're starting to truly inhabit who you are. This alone is a powerful form of healing. It's a kind of healing that doesn't require visible rituals or dramatic revelations to be genuine. It manifests in your daily life, in moments when you might have once given up. But now you choose to remain, not to immediately fix everything, but to stand by yourself with dignity and patience. You notice that pain no longer holds the same power over you. It still appears, but now it has a different rhythm, volume, and texture. It doesn't pull you under anymore. It informs you. It no longer halts your progress, but walks with you as you continue moving forward. This happens because you've stopped rejecting pain. You've realized that pain is not your enemy, but a part of your story that needed to be heard. Your body feels this shift too. Chronic tensions you once carried start to release slowly but noticeably. Your breathing deepens naturally, and your sleep becomes more restorative, not because life has become weightless, but because you're carrying your burdens from a more integrated place. A place where you no longer abandon yourself just to survive. Emotions that once embarrassed you no longer feel threatening. They have become legitimate expressions of who you are, expressions you can recognize without needing to correct. You can be sad without thinking you're broken, feel insecure without doubting your worth, and have a bad day without believing you've regressed. This is a clear sign of healing through integration, the ability to embrace both your light and shadow without rejecting either. You are no longer fragmenting yourself to be liked, nor denying your truth to fit in. Now, you walk with all that you are, your contradictions, emptiness, quiet victories, and that wholeness, even with its imperfections, is far more authentic than any mask of perfection you once wore. Another sign is how your view of the past shifts. It's not about forgetting or sugarcoating your pain with false positivity. It's about looking at your story and realizing it no longer hurts the same way. It doesn't weigh you down as it did before. You don't fall apart every time a memory resurfaces. Healing through integration means your difficult moments stop feeling like constant threats. They become parts of your journey that you now understand, pieces of your past that have been acknowledged. They no longer define your present. They've been woven into your story, not erased or glorified, but accepted as part of the sacred whole that is you. You begin to remember not to reopen old wounds or dwell in pain, but with newfound strength that prevents those memories from controlling you. It's not that your experiences no longer matter. The impact remains. They still shaped you, but now you're not defined by them. You're no longer imprisoned by the version of yourself that was broken, betrayed, or afraid. You're not just the defense mechanism that built walls to survive. Now, you are the one who has walked alongside every version of yourself, the wounded, the protective, the silent, the loud, and have chosen with wisdom and love to unify them. You have made peace with your contradictions. You've chosen integration over fragmentation. You are someone who has faced the depths and, instead of turning away, has chosen to honor it all and move forward with deeper awareness. Your past is no longer a punishment. It becomes something sacred, a place where you learn to support yourself when everything else failed. It becomes sacred ground that holds not just pain, but the roots of your strength, the things you once avoided, the decisions you didn't discuss, the moments you tried to forget. You now meet them with respect. You no longer hide them or feel ashamed of who you were when you didn't know what you know now. You start to understand that all of your past selves, the quiet ones, the angry ones, the scared ones, the ones who fell again and again, were never mistakes. They were expressions of your will to survive, attempts to protect your heart in a world you hadn't yet learned to navigate. And now, from where you stand in the present, you can finally embrace all of them, not with guilt or regret, but with the tenderness you didn't know how to offer yourself back then. That tenderness doesn't weaken you. It liberates you, because only those who have made peace with their past can walk into their future feeling light, unburdened, and whole. You no longer carry your story like chains around your ankles. You carry it like threads woven into the fabric of your being, not denying what happened, but acknowledging that through it, your soul learned what it needed to remember. That understanding transforms everything. It changes how you tell your story. You no longer speak from the wound as if it's still bleeding. You speak from the scar, soft, healed, full of memory, but no longer raw. Your story ceases to be a tragedy and becomes a journey. You no longer define yourself by what happened to you or by what you lost. Instead, you define yourself by how you chose to rise, transform, and grow beyond the limits pain once imposed on you. This transformation isn't loud or something you need to announce or explain, but it is unmistakable. People feel it in your presence. They notice the change, even if they can't quite identify it. You radiate calmness and a sense of being grounded, not because you're pretending to be healed, but because you truly understand your own transformation. You no longer speak from open wounds, but from scars that hold wisdom. You realize that forgiveness isn't always about others. Sometimes it's about forgiving yourself for the times you didn't protect your own heart. For moments, you stayed silent when you wanted to scream. For instances when you ignored your feelings to hold on to something or someone you feared losing. Now, instead of punishing yourself, you offer yourself compassion. You understand you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. This self-forgiveness dissolves judgment and creates space for a new kind of gratitude, one that doesn't glorify the past or pretend it was all beautiful, but honors what it taught you. You begin to see that even in the darkest places, something started to bloom, a seed of awakening. This gratitude changes your energy, making you profound, not naive. You no longer carry your past as a burden, but as your root system, anchoring and grounding you, reminding you where you come from without hindering your growth. Your story is no longer a prison, but an expansion. It connects you to others in real, honest ways. You're not seeking validation anymore. You're simply sharing your truth, and that authenticity creates bridges where there were once walls. From this place, your past no longer stands between you and the world. You don't need to hide your experiences to feel safe. You've stopped identifying solely with the pain. Now, when you speak, it's from transformation, not trauma. This shift doesn't make you cold or distant. It makes you accessible, relatable, magnetic. People can sense when someone has walked through darkness and chosen not to stay there. Your presence deepens, becoming quieter, yet more powerful, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you hold your story with reverence, not resistance. You no longer emanate confusion or denial, but wholeness. Wholeness doesn't shout. It simply exists firm, radiant, grounded. When you revisit your past, it's not to search for blame or justify your pain. If you return, it's with intention. It's to gain insight, to complete cycles, to recognize patterns, and to consciously close doors that were left slightly open, not as punishment, but as liberation. When nostalgia arises, it doesn't overwhelm you. You don't get lost in it. Instead, you sit with it, honor it, but don't cling to it, because what once felt like a desperate need now feels like a part of you that's been acknowledged, loved, and gently returned to its rightful place. When this happens, something within you feels lighter. You realize you don't need to reject your past to move forward. Integration isn't about forgetting. It's the most loving way to evolve. You no longer push away what hurt you. You embrace it as part of your human experience, understanding that everything your soul endured was necessary to reach this clarity, peace, and deeper level of consciousness. Another clear sign that you're healing and evolving through deep inner integration is when you begin to act from your center rather than from reactive impulses. It's a quiet yet powerful shift, often unnoticed by the outside world, but transformative within you. This change isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about finding a grounded space inside yourself from which your actions naturally arise. When you've reconnected the fragmented parts of your inner world, you no longer feel the need to defend yourself against every challenge, explain every emotion, or prove your worth through impulsive reactions. Your energy stabilizes. Your words become more thoughtful and deliberate. Your actions flow from a unified core, a place within that no longer fractures under pressure. You no longer react to life. You respond. And that response comes from clarity, not fear, from presence, not urgency. This is what it means to live integrated. What once overwhelmed you emotionally now encounters a new version of you, a version that can observe without being consumed, that can feel without getting lost in the feeling. It's not that you stop feeling, it's that you learn to hold space for your emotions. You no longer need to build walls around your heart or lash out in self-protection. You stop confusing hardness with strength. Your power is no longer something you need to assert. It simply exists quiet, calm, and steady. You maintain your center not by dominating the situation, but by staying rooted in yourself. This center, this inner stability, is not something you fake or pretend. It's not learned from a book or copied from someone else. It's the natural result of facing your inner shadows, listening to the parts of you that used to sabotage your growth, and, most importantly, accepting them. When you make peace with your inner contradictions, your external behavior shifts. You begin to act from serenity, not fear, from awareness, not the need to control. This change in frequency impacts not just you, but your entire reality. You no longer feel the need to be right. Peace takes precedence over winning arguments. You stop diving into conflicts just to protect your ego, because you finally understand there's nothing in you that needs defending when you feel whole. Once all your internal parts are acknowledged and embraced, external conflicts lose their power over you. You become quieter, yet your presence speaks louder than ever. This presence doesn't push or impose, nor does it collapse under pressure. It holds space, accompanies, and transforms, all from a place of profound coherence. It's not theoretical or performative, nor does it come from pretending to have everything figured out. It emerges when you stop living in pieces, when you stop splitting yourself between what you feel and show, what you think and do. Your way of being transforms, not because life becomes perfect, but because you no longer view it through the lens of past pain. You begin to exist fully, even in discomfort, without being pulled into chaos. Your energy no longer trembles at every provocation because you've stopped projecting unhealed wounds onto the world. You don't give others the power to unbalance you. Your center becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. This doesn't mean you've stopped feeling. It means you can choose how to move with what you feel. You can cry and still be at peace, feel afraid, and still take the next step. Emotions are no longer warnings that something is wrong, but companions guiding you. You understand you don't have to react to everything not out of apathy, but because you recognize the value of your energy. You become unwilling to waste it on conflicts that lead nowhere, on hollow conversations, or on relationships that only exist in reactive dynamics. Integration makes you more selective, not from judgment, but from self-respect. Learning to inhabit your own inner space teaches you to protect it without closing it off. You set boundaries without guilt and speak your truth without losing composure. This changes your presence entirely. You become someone who can hold space for others without taking on their weight, who can listen deeply without absorbing their pain, and who can express energy without dominating anyone. Such presence can't be faked. It arises when you've made peace with every part of yourself. When there's no war between mind and heart, body and soul, you no longer hide your healing process. You honor your pace, embrace your silences, and give space to your pauses. You stop defining yourself by productivity or outward strength. Instead, you define yourself by integrity and your ability to treat yourself with compassion without demanding perfection. You remain true to yourself even when no one's watching. As you follow this path, a new sense of order emerges within you. Your emotions no longer compete with each other. Your decisions become firmer, and the mental noise that once dominated your thoughts begins to quiet. This happens not because it disappears, but because you can now discern your true voice from those of fear and disconnection. Even mistakes take on new meaning as you stop punishing yourself for every misstep and stop demanding a fresh start each time you stumble. You realize that each step, even uncertain ones, are part of your journey, a thread in your personal tapestry. You understand yourself more clearly and no longer fall apart when faced with the unfamiliar. From this self-awareness, your strength becomes grounded. You don't need to shout or prove it. It's within you, like a second skin. In a world that often values appearances, this authenticity becomes a form of sacred resistance. Acting from this center, you don't lose yourself easily, recognizing yourself even amid chaos. You know how to return to yourself without rebuilding from scratch, as no part of you is left behind. Every part has come home, giving your soul the stability it has long sought. Another sign of inner transformation is when your connections with others reflect the harmony within. You no longer seek relationships from a place of lack, but from awareness. What you once sought externally, validation, love, wholeness, you now recognize as already within you. With this quiet sense of fullness, you choose more clearly, forming bonds not to fill emotional voids, but to share the richness cultivated inside. You stop attracting relationships mirroring old wounds because you no longer need someone else to embody parts of yourself you avoided facing. Now, you recognize your projections without shame, integrating them with honesty, not self-blame. In this radical honesty, you find freedom. You aren't satisfied with half-hearted connections, not out of arrogance, but because your soul can no longer tolerate anything stemming from a mask or pretense. You crave depth, seek presence, and yearn for genuine connections that embody authenticity, even if they sometimes hurt or feel uncomfortable. You realize that discomfort from true encounters can be sacred. The way you communicate shifts. You speak with intention, not noise. You don't need to say everything, but what you express reflects your integrated self, your centered presence, and your unembellished truth. This truth isn't harmful because it doesn't stem from defensiveness. It simply exists. You set boundaries without causing harm and walk away without resentment because you don't cling to people who fragment you or stay where you must forget yourself. Your internal integration mirrors your external life, and anything not mutual, balanced, or true starts to dissolve naturally. There's no need to force anything. Your energy no longer supports it. This transformation shows subtly in how you listen without trying to save and accompany others without absorbing their pain. You choose to stay where truth is present and walk away lovingly, guilt-free when it's not. You're no longer in relationships to fix your past. You connect to grow and evolve together, not to cover up old wounds with fleeting affection. This shift changes the quality of your relationships because your soul no longer accepts emotional breadcrumbs or shallow connections. You start feeling peaceful within yourself, even in solitude. What once felt like emptiness becomes fertile space. You're not running from anything. You're fully inhabiting yourself. From that place, any relationship must resonate with authenticity. You're not manipulated by the fear of losing someone because you've learned you cannot lose what is truly meant for you. When someone leaves as you stand in your truth, they're not leaving. They're revealing themselves. Your soul no longer makes silent contracts to be loved. You don't edit yourself to be liked or lower your inner voice to avoid discomfort. In this strength from deep integration, your relationships become more honest, healthier, and real. When you no longer abandon yourself, you also don't allow others to abandon you. The sacred dignity within you elevates every bond you keep. It's about sharing, not holding on. It's about resonating, not needing. When your relationships start to form from a place of resonance rather than need, they become reflections of your healing. You're no longer caught up in stories that fed your emptiness. Instead, you connect with people who are as dedicated to their truth as you are. There's no drama, just presence. No power struggles, just mutual respect. There's no pressure to be someone you're not, only the freedom to be who you truly are. You find that love, when lived from a place of integration, doesn't seek control or external security. It seeks shared freedom. Love stops being painful not because challenges vanish, but because your worth is no longer in someone else's hands. You don't wait for someone to complete you. You don't need rescuing. Instead, you offer what is already whole within you. Even in farewells, the energy shifts. You no longer cling to permanence where growth has ended. You don't force yourself to remain in relationships that echo outdated dynamics disguised as love. You walk away without bitterness, stay without fear, knowing your inner peace is more valuable than any forced connection. You've realized every relationship reflects the one you have with yourself. From this integrated place, your support for others changes. You don't give advice out of a frantic need to fix things. Instead, you hold space without interfering, respecting that everyone has their own rhythm and journey of awakening. You understand that healing comes from within and that no one can do the inner work for someone else. You become more empathetic, grounded, loving, and honest. This balanced energy signals deep healing, not just superficial, but at a soul level, integrating all your once fragmented parts. Then, something extraordinary unfolds, so subtly that you almost don't notice it at first. It's not a sudden burst of joy from external achievements or new beginnings. It's quieter, more profound. You start to feel peace for no apparent reason. A peace that doesn't rely on perfect surroundings or resolved life issues. It arises spontaneously, like a slow breath or an inner silence that wraps around you like a warm, invisible blanket. You're not euphoric, nor are you seeking stimulation or novelty. You're simply here, fully present. This state of presence, once thought unreachable, like something only monks or sages might attain, now feels natural, as if it was always within you, waiting to be noticed. This peace doesn't mean you've stopped feeling pain. You still feel deeply. Now you know how to handle it. You no longer flee from your emotions, deny them, or push them deep inside. You don't identify with them either. You simply observe them. You stay with them gently, like a compassionate witness. And when they've served their purpose, you let them go. Naturally and lovingly, this shift brings clarity. You start to distinguish between what is urgent and what truly matters. You stop reacting to everything. You no longer feel the pressure to prove your progress because you already are progressing. Your soul ceases to run. And when the soul stops running, something miraculous occurs. The body begins to rest, the mind quiets, and your energy becomes lighter and more fluid, even as you navigate life's ups and downs. You stop fighting every discomfort and resisting reality. Instead, you choose to be fully present with what is, without spiraling into judgment or fear. Then, the world begins to notice, not because you've made an announcement or sought to convince anyone, but because your presence has changed. The way you speak, look at people, and move all resonates with a different frequency now. You no longer feel the need to explain your healing or seek validation. What you transmit is deeply felt, and what is felt from a place of peace doesn't require proof. It simply is. In that silent recognition, you realize something even more powerful. Peace isn't the end of the path. It's the new way you walk it. You stop needing the world to align perfectly for you to feel okay. Your balance comes from within now. It's no longer fragile because it's not built on external conditions. It doesn't vanish with change because it's not just an emotion. It's a state of the soul that has stopped fragmenting itself. You're no longer chasing fulfillment as a distant goal. You realize the wholeness you've been seeking was never outside of you. It was always within, buried under layers of self-criticism, guilt, and abandonment. Now that you've begun the sacred work of integration, that fullness rises effortlessly, like a river finally allowed to flow after being dammed for so long. You understand that calm does not come from control. True serenity isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting yourself. Trusting yourself no longer means being certain of everything. It means feeling at home in your own skin, even amidst the unknown. It means you can change direction without feeling lost, pause without feeling like a failure, and lack answers while still feeling whole. From this place of peace, the noise of the world loses its grip. External opinions no longer define your worth, and the pressure that once suffocated you now feels distant. Not because you've shut the world out, but because you no longer change yourself to fit in. You no longer need to earn your place. You belong to yourself now. This inner belonging is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Every action you take stems from a clearer intention. Every moment of silence becomes sacred, rich with meaning rather than empty. Every connection becomes a choice, not a desperate need. This calm, unshakable peace that supports you without explanation or performance is the most profound sign that healing is happening deeply and authentically through integration, not resistance. If something within you felt aligned with these words, if a part of you recognized this truth, it's because you're already in the midst of this sacred process. Healing through integration means embracing all of who you were, fully and consciously. It means letting every version of yourself, even the wounded ones, come back into wholeness. You are not broken. You are gathering your scattered pieces. In this sacred inner gathering, the peace you once searched for outside begins to awaken within you, silent, deep, and real. If this message resonated with your soul, if you felt it was meant for you at this moment, your awakening deserves to be witnessed. Your journey deserves to be honored, and your presence, just as it is the gift this world needs. If these words stirred something within you, if you felt seen, understood, or simply more at peace, don't let that feeling fade. This journey is just beginning, and you don't have to walk it alone. There is a whole community of souls like you, waking up, healing, and remembering who they truly are. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of truth, light, or connection. Let this space remind you that you are not alone, that your process matters, and that your healing is sacred. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who might need it today. You never know how deeply a few words can change a life. Together, we grow. Together, we rise. Together, we return home to ourselves. Thank you for being here. Your presence is powerful, and the world is better because you're in it.